Berlitz Revisited. If you have been following this whole little series of video reviews of language learning products, you know that I already did one for Berlitz. I wasn't intending to do a second one. In that first one I reviewed this one line of self-teacher books that I have known about for a long time and have developed a very great appreciation and respect for, both as I use them myself to revise languages when I've let them get a little bit rusty, and then when I compare them and contrast them with all sorts of other language learning products that are out there. But in response to that first video that I made, I got a lot of questions about a number of other Berlitz products, and I did some investigation and some searching, and I found that, well, Berlitz is certainly one of the biggest names out there in terms of language learning, and over the years they have published, I would say, 20, 30 different lines of products. So there's a lot to look at, and I thought it would be worth another look. I even went so far as to get this book that they put out about a decade ago, rather self-congratulatory title, but that talks a lot about their basic method here, which is a nice thing to look at together. The principles of the method this is Maximilian Berlitz they're talking about, made a distinction between what he termed the fundamental principles and the means of attaining this end. The fundamental principles of all these methods are: 1, direct association of perception and thought with foreign speech and sound, and 2, constant and exclusive use of the foreign language. And then the means of attaining this end, there are 3. 1, teaching the concrete by object lessons. 2, teaching the abstract by the association of ideas. And 3, teaching of grammar by examples and visual demonstration. Now, I already covered in that first review, again, after I looked at the self-teachers, I also went to the public library and I checked out a number of other courses that they had. Here's another chapter about their whole publishing history. And I saw that, unfortunately, they themselves have abandoned, in the past decade, this second principle of constant and exclusive use of the foreign language. In their current materials, there's a lot of English on the recordings as well, which is a sad development. But so we'll just look at the older ones. They started, again, with the self-teachers that I showed you last time, and then they went to some recorded courses that I'm going to look at. Berlitz products, probably this has never bothered anybody else before, because I'm probably the first person that's tried to make a comprehensive resource collection of language materials spanning the decades, not just get rid of the old things to get the new ones. As I said, they've made about 20 or 30 different lines of products, but what they've done, they recycle a lot of things. They publish the same thing under 2 or 3 different titles and use parts of it in another one. So I would say they really have about 5 or 6 lines of products out there. I want to look at this one today, these recorded courses that they put out in the 1950s and 60s, and then in particular at these Think and Talk courses that they put out in the early 90s, because these are courses that you can still get fairly easily, and I think are worth getting more than these newer courses, again, which are just recycled and tend to start having English slip into there. So if you think of getting any Berlitz products, make sure you have some storage space, because they've always been extremely, they made the Linguaphone courses look small. They used to come in these actual briefcases for just carrying your language materials around, or in these giant boxes. And by the time you got to the Think and Talk courses, well, I guess they're a little slimmer, but not all that much. You get, in all of these courses, you get 6 hours of recording, and two or 3 books in these, and 5 or 6 books in these earlier ones. Let me begin with that. These courses from the 1950s and 60s are something I think are worth getting very excited about. They were published under the name Self-Teaching Language Courses, or Comprehensive Language Course, or various titles like that. And unfortunately, they're only available for what I call the Big Four, for French, Spanish, German, and Italian. But in that, we've already talked about this and some other things, one thing that I really like about these is, here, I'll just go through the table of contents, you can look at it, for French, as that they're the same for those 4 languages. It's the same course of study, which, when I talked about the passport books, the intermediate level being a well-acted, well-recorded radio drama that had you learning in that sense, I think they must have gotten that idea from this series, because this is the exact same thing. And again, that's the course for French. Here's the course for Spanish. You can compare the table of contents and see that they're essentially identical. The story, the radio drama in both of these, is of a businessman, an American businessman, who goes to Mexico or France or Italy or Germany, and he does business, and he falls in love with the daughter of his business partner, and they get engaged, but she has a jealous cousin who is being cut off, disinherited by a wealthy aunt for being irresponsible, and then the lover, he has a car accident, and this is back before cell phones, so he disappears for 2 weeks, but everything's all right at the end. But you go around and you get through a lot of the culture. These are extremely well acted. They're relatively entertaining stories. You get just the Spanish in this case and the English discourse underneath it, and on the left-hand page you get all the grammar explained to you. These, I think, are very interesting and worth having, worth learning from. You can learn a lot. You also get these verb finders, and also with these you got what was called the Zero program, or Berlitz key program, and this also was kind of separate. It came in the same attaché case. This is a 90-minute recording of just pure question and answers, of teaching really the basic structure of the language, and I think that this would be very nice to review. The thing that I get kind of excited about these for, comparing them to more recent things, we'll see about the Think and Talk and just other courses, not Berlitz, but all other courses in general, is the nice fast pace of these older courses. They really don't have any gaps in between them, and they just keep going. The Think and Talk courses, which again came out in the 90s. Last time I reviewed their also 1990s sort of basic, it was called Berlitz Basic course, and as I said, they recycle. So I looked at the Berlitz Basic Italian, which just had, I think, 3 tapes, whereas the Think and Talk has 6, and indeed the Basic was just half of the same course. It's the very same at the beginning. These courses, I think the beginning of this one has a, I hope I can pan in and get enough of their principles of Basic for Learning, Basics for Learning. They talk about their natural approach here, and the model for language learning, and how the whole method works, and then the steps and stages you're supposed to go through. Step 1, listening, language as sound. 2, listening and understanding. 3, repeating. 4, answering and repeating. 5, reading and writing. And 6, talking freely. The Think and Talk, in contrast to the, what should I call that earlier series, it was both the comprehensive language course, the self-teaching versus the self-teacher language course. This is also a story, but in all honesty, I can't really give you such a good resume of it. It takes place in a business office, and there's also language teaching going on, because I've just put these on in the background myself to listen to get the idea of it. Here's the table of contents, and again, this is the same for the different languages. This here has gaps in between it, which distract from my attention, and I think it's over, and I stop listening. I start thinking about something else, and I move on. But if you're actively working with it, I think that these Think and Talk courses are very good for you. They rely much more heavily than the earlier ones do on sound effect. I think that if there's ever anything to the idea of just purely subliminal learning, learning without ever putting something on in the background and just listening to it over and over again and have it sort of sink into your consciousness and just assimilating a language in that sense, I think that these would be a very good candidate for doing that, this Think and Talk series that they put out. I don't think it's as comprehensive as the other one. My feeling is that with the first series that I showed you, you really did get you didn't get into the literary language, of course, the literary verbal tenses and the like, but I think you got the entire structure of the language, whereas with these Think and Talk, I'm not sure that you get into the more complicated, just sort of everyday grammar as well, but these are very, very good introductions to languages that are still available out there, so you might want to have a look at these other Berlitz products.